please learn from my mistake. My name is Jana Kay, and welcome to Flourish, Faith, and Fiber. And this is Flourish Creatively, podcast number 31. I hope y'all are all doing well. Thank you for joining me for this video and all of my crafting adventures, I guess, things that I have really given love to in this past week. And if you would love to connect with me, please look in the description box below. All my details, my Facebook page, Instagram, Ravelry, and even email is all listed in the description box below. And of course, I do read every comment. I love hearing from you. I think that is the wonderful thing about YouTube, is that even though I'm making a video and in the house by myself talking to my phone that I use as a camera, but I know that once the video goes out, goes live, that we connect through the comments below. So I read them all, try to respond if needed, but know that I really do appreciate you commenting and connecting with me and the videos that I put out. All right, all of that said, let's get started with the finished objects that I have this week. All right, my first finished object. So I am joining in with Cassandra at Craftably Ever After. Her make-along, I would say it's a year long. She's got 2 books that are traveling, one in the US and one Europe and Australia, Asia, all of those places. I think South America is included anyway, not the United States. And so the book that is going through the US, I am joining in by making a few of those projects. I am not getting the book myself, and I'm not making every single project that is made and basically following the book that is traveling around the US. So recently, there's been a couple afterwards, but recently the cupcake was chosen, and I decided to make a cupcake. And here it is. This is the cupcake that I made, and very cute. I really love it. I did not choose to put the face on. A lot of her amigurumis in the book that I'll show you in just a minute, she puts faces on, but I don't know, faces on food, I don't know. So I did not put a face on. I just made the cupcake with all its little sprinkles. Oh my goodness. The amount of frosting on this cupcake is, I think, more than the cake itself. Anyway, it really is a cute pattern. So let me show you the book, and then I'll talk about the yarn that I used. So the book is Whimsical Stitches by Lauren Espy. And as I said, a lot, you can see on the cover, a lot of her food, even the cup, I think that's the donut. Yep, the donuts have faces on them. Obviously the animals do, but here's the cupcakes, and she's got 2 different sizes. I actually made the smaller size, but this is the book that Cassandra has going around. I actually ordered it off of Amazon and ordered a used book. It is not in the greatest of condition. The binding is a little loose. There are some not many little marks in the book, but really overall for the purpose of joining in and making some of these amigurumi and really getting better, because I don't consider myself an amigurumi crocheter. I do a lot of other projects. I probably, just like myself, that I consider myself a jack of all trades, master of none of them, except that I think I'm getting pretty good at crochet and maybe even working on my knitting skills more and more. But I do a lot of other projects, so I'm not solely an amigurumi maker and working on getting better at it. So the yarn I used was all from Hobby Lobby. Let me show you. So I got Crafter's Secret yarn and from Hobby Lobby, and it is $2.99. It is not their top of the line cotton. I love this cotton is, but it is a nice, good quality cotton, and I think works up very well in amigurumi. So the brown colorway is called Teddy, and the purple is called Lavender. And it is a, let's see, let me turn it around. It's a 71 gram ball, 2.5 ounces, and 120 yards or 109 meters. It is a 4 or worsted weight cotton yarn. And I used what was recommended. I think it was recommended. Let me check. Okay, I did not use what was recommended in the book. She recommends a 4.25 millimeter, and my set, I have the tulip crochet hooks, and they don't come with a 4.25. So I just went down to a 4 millimeter hook to make the cupcakes. Now, all the sprinkles were just various scraps of cotton. Few of them were peaches and cream. I think the light teal color is the I Love This Cotton. I just had some scraps that I used to make the sprinkles. I didn't really change anything about the pattern except the sprinkles. I actually stuffed the cupcake and then did the sprinkles. She actually wanted you to put the sprinkles in with embroidery floss before stuffing it and sewing it up, but I decided to put them on after because I have made a donut and I did the same thing where I stuffed it, sewed it up, and then added the sprinkles. So I just did the same thing with this. So the smaller size did not call for putting a piece of cardboard down at the bottom. The larger cupcake did, but I think I probably should have gone ahead and done it. It would sit better. It sits fine. And if I really press on it and make this a little bit flatter, it will sit just fine. But I love the edging around the frosting. Very easy to sew together. Definitely a beginner pattern. So that is my first finished object. So my second finished object is my knitted Ross hat. It is a pattern by Ross, who is the Smell Great guy or Smells Like Yarn. He's listed in those names a couple of different places. I think his YouTube channel, though, is Smell Great Guy. He loves putting scented candles in his yarn room. And so I'll put a picture here of the hat and explain why I'm putting a picture up there. I used chunky yarn from Malabrigo called Rosalinda. This is the yarn I have left over. It was a 95 meter, 104 yard skein. And after doing the hat, this is what I have left over. I didn't weigh it yet. I don't think I have enough for another hat, but I do have enough to add maybe to a project or two. It is, and I'm telling you this because I need to explain, it is 100% merino wool. And I think in my last video that I talked about, I said, I don't think it's superwashed. It just says merino. It's not superwashed. And let me explain what happened and why at the beginning of the video I said, please learn from my mistake. So this is what the hat looks like now. There you go. It still looks really pretty, but I don't know if you can tell, it is definitely felted some. So what happened was I put it on to take the photo that I had up, and the yarn didn't smell really nice. And I do like to wash my things, especially wearables, before I wear them, or blankets before I give them as gifts, that kind of thing. And so right after taking the picture, I threw this into the bucket with my laundry so that I would remember to wash it on the day that I did laundry. And I do put most of my wearables in the washing machine. But what I made the mistake of doing was turning it on warm. When I put it in with the rest of my clothes, I put the temperature on warm, totally forgetting that wool needs to be washed in cold water. And yeah, so it felted and it did shrink. But thankfully, it's tight, but thankfully, since I have a small head, it still fits me. I still can wear it. It may end up being one of the giveaways because definitely a child could wear it. I just hate that I bought this really pretty, lovely wool yarn and, in a sense, ruined, shrunk, felted the hat. But yeah, like I said, I can still wear it. It does cover my ears. And it does, I don't like them to come real low, and this one definitely doesn't come real low. So that is what happened, and why I say, learn from my mistake. Don't put it in warm water. I knew I wasn't going to dry it. Obviously, I knew that it would shrink, but just didn't think when I put the temperature of the water on warm. But still, it's a beautiful hat. I still think it's really pretty, and the yarn, the colorway is gorgeous, and I love knitted hats. So that is my second finished object. Now let's move on to the works I have in progress. All right, so the works that I have been giving a lot of attention and love to this week, I have several works in progress, but showing you just the ones that I did work on. And the first is the Zerzura shawl. It is a pattern by Reggie at J Hook Crochet. It is a collab for the summer that I am doing with her, where she gifted me her pattern, and I am making it and showing it on my channel. And hopefully you will check out her channel. She's got some amazing patterns. I say this every time. She's got some really gorgeous, very well written patterns, a lot of intricate designs that are not difficult, but that come out beautiful and lacy and feminine. And yeah, I just really love her pattern. So this is the Zerzura shawl. All right. This is her shawl, the pattern. It is a triangular shawl. I love the flowers and the way this yarn is working up. It's got some amazing drape to it. But it's a beautiful design. All right, as you can see, where my stitch marker is, I forgot to move it. So up to where I left off last week. So I think that I have basically done, finished the top part of this row of flowers and halfway through this last row of flowers, because they alternate. You can see you've got a flower down there and a flower up here on the next row that starts. So I finished this, the top part of this flower down here, and halfway through these flowers on this top row. So that is the Zerzura shawl. All right, the yarn I am using is Yarn Bee. Did I put it upside down? Sorry, Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek DK, which is actually measures out to be a 2-weight or sport weight yarn. It's quite a bit thinner than DK, and according to the chart that I use, really is a sport weight yarn. It is a low pill fiber, which means if it's washed in cold water, then it will not pill. It won't get those little pill bumps all over it. It is this is a 4-ounce ball, 114 grams, 478 yards, 437 meters. And that is what I go by, I do the maths to figure out if it was a 100-gram ball, because this is 114. If it's a 100-gram ball, how many meters or yards? I think yards is actually in my chart. It's meters. I mean, it's grams and yards. But then what does that mean in 100 grams? How many yards? So what then is the actual weight of the yarn? You can also do wraps per inch, where you wrap the yarn around a ruler for an inch, make sure that the strands are side by side by side, and then count how many wraps that you get in that inch. And that can also tell you what size weight it is. This colorway is called Pretty in Peacock. And again, I just love the way that this shawl is turning out. So I definitely recommend this pattern. It is not a mindless pattern. You do have to think about which part of the flowers that you're on, and they do alternate. So you have to remember, okay, I'm on this part, finishing up this flower and starting this flower. So you have to think about it. But I don't, now that I've got the six row repeat down, I don't actually have to look at the pattern. She also puts in a chart if you like reading charts or you want to learn how to read charts. She also includes charts in quite a few of her patterns because she loves charts. And so it's really nice whether you're a chart person or reading the actual written out pattern. She includes both of them. So check out Reggie's Etsy shop. It's linked in the description box below. And let's get to my next work in progress. All right, I didn't mention that I am using a tulip and a 4.5 millimeter hook. So these are my tulip hooks that I use on a regular basis, and for the shawl was using a 4.5 millimeter hook. All right, my next work in progress. So I have joined another collab called Battle of the Stitches. It was put out by Heather at Strings and Threads and Teresa at Critters Crochet. And they have had several people recently join the collab. They had Ella at No Catchy Name. They had Sid at, I should have written all this down. Hang on just a minute. Okay, Sid's channel is Sweet Pea Sid's Inspirations, and she was part of it last month. Now, they may be joining in again this month, and there's other creators that are watching their videos. They put videos out, and They may be joining along as well, because there is, I think there's a Facebook page, or they can send in their photos of what they made with the stitch. So that's why it's called Battle of the Stitches, is that they are going through a book. They, being Heather and Teresa, are going through a book that has different crochet stitches. They are doing a tutorial on one Wednesday. They are giving a sneak peek of their project on the next Wednesday. The third Wednesday, they are showing their projects for all the viewers to vote on, and then there is a live to reveal who the winner of the voting and the comments gets, who the winner is of Battle of the Stitches, and who the voter winner is that will receive the winning project. And so this month, they just put it out there. If you want to join, let us know. I thought it would be so much fun. It would help expand my creativity, because I've always said I am a left brain person. I'm touching my left brain. This is it. This is the one that works. Me being the math teacher, computer, all of that. And that's what I love about crochet and knitting and embroidery and sewing. It all works that right brain. I'm not an artist. I've tried that. You don't want me to draw or paint anything. And it just wasn't fun, but I really caught on to crochet. Love a little bit of photography as well. So it's a way to expand, as I said, my creativity. And I always said I'm not a designer, but I love taking other people's designs, even with baking. I love taking recipes and tweaking things, cooking, baking, but I don't come up with things off the top of my head. And this is going to give me the opportunity to do that. So I have joined in, along with this month, Crystal at Hook That Yarn is also joining in this month. So you can go to Heather's channel, you can go to Teresa's channel, you can go to Crystal's channel, all linked in the description box below, and check out their tutorial on the stitch. The stitch that we are doing this month is called the single crochet cross stitch. And I'm going to attempt at the end of this video to put in my tutorial. I don't have a setup for tutorials, but I'm going to try and put that in at the end of this video so that you can see. This is what the stitch pattern looks like. It is beautiful. And yes, I made a coaster for this stitch. Front and back, love it. Looks the same. Very nice, cozy kind of stitch. It does have some holes, and I guess a lot of it depends on what hook size that you use. So I used Kobu, which is, let me give you the exact, it's 51% cotton and 49% bamboo, and it is a 3-weight DK weight yarn. It does recommend a 4mm hook, and I used a 4.5. So using a slightly bigger hook, gave me a little bit looser fabric. And so, yeah, so there you go. That is the single crochet cross stitch. And yeah, if you want to check out my tutorial at the end of this video, it's there. And I always put the timestamps in the description box, so you can look down there and just jump. And I think you can find it across the bottom of the screen too, and just jump to the tutorial. So they're putting out videos every Wednesday. I will just include what I'm doing, like my sneak peek and the project, with my regular video, and put that up there as well. So although on the final, when the third week when we show projects, I may then do a really short video and put that up separately. And then look forward to being part of their live. So that leads me into, so that's my last whip that really got a lot of love because I was really practicing this stitch and working on that so that I could actually put out a tutorial. So, and then I made a project that I cannot show you because it kind of has to do with the project I have in mind for this stitch. So I don't want to give anything away, but at the end of the month, I will show you that finished project that I did work on. So, as I said, I look forward to being part of the live at the end of August. It'll actually be my first time to join a live on screen. So excited, a little nervous, but looking forward to that. But we are in the process of buying a house and moving. And someone commented on one of my videos that it would be great to know the process and see the process of our moving in to a new home. And I think we're in a little bit different situation because we are moving from overseas with practically nothing. And so, yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about that as soon as we definitely have purchased the house. I don't want to put pictures of the house up until I know that it is actually our house. But I will tell you a little bit about the journey so far as we have moved from overseas, from South Africa, here to Tennessee. We had to get new cars. We had to get insurance. Even little things like I don't have a broom. We're staying in a house that's fully furnished. It's got bedroom furniture, living room furniture, dining room furniture, all the pots and pans. There's a lot of that we did not bring. We didn't bring any electrical because South Africa is 220 and we're now living where it's 110. So most of our electrical appliances especially do not work here. We did bring our TV. We had just bought a brand new TV. And because it is a smart TV, it's like a computer, like a laptop, where it is adaptable between 220 and 110. You just need to change out the cord, which is amazing. So we were able to bring our TV. We're just going to have to buy a new cord for it. But all the other electrical appliances, my air fryer, all our coffee makers and espresso and all of that, we could not bring with us, and having to replace that. I did not bring things like a broom and a mop and pots and pans. I think there were, I'm trying to remember, I think I might have brought a few. I know I brought some mixing bowls. I brought our silverware, and we do have a dish set that I actually bought from Zimbabwe and brought that over with us. We brought a couch, a love seat, or a lazy boy, and a coffee table, and a couple of bookshelves. And then we bought an antique piece of furniture that we use as our coffee bar. And so that's it in the way of furniture. When we actually move into our house, we have to buy a bed. We don't have a bed. And I don't know, our crate is right now in Atlanta. I don't know how quickly they will get it to us. So our lounge in this house is huge. It's 20 by 26 feet. And so I think we will have space. I want to add another couch in the living room area. And so, yeah. So anyway, been looking online. There's a couple of amazing secondhand shops that are here. where we are in Tennessee that I have looked at. And so there's an outlet mall really close to us. And so look forward to going there and seeing, I know there's a Pottery Barn outlet, and just seeing what they have. And then the two cities, Nashville and another city close to us, will have some furniture shops that I think we'll check out too as well. So yeah, it will take a lot to make the house livable, and I know we'll be adding a little bit of it at a time and decorating. It is a 3-bedroom house. We plan on having a proper guest room that I can't say that. So my husband's office is small at the church, is small, so he doesn't really have room for a lot of his books that he brought. So one guest room will have a nice, decent bed and maybe some bookshelves in there. I don't think he'll really need a desk, but some bookshelves and things for all of his books and his collectibles. And then the other guest room, I'm thinking I want to put in some kind of couch fold-out bed or day bed that can be used as furniture, but that will give me room for sewing table and for shelves for yarn and for books as well. So yeah, you'll get to see all of that develop as we move into our new home. So that's really kind of the progress we've made so far. There's a few things for the kitchen that I did buy. This house didn't have a cookie sheet. I bought a cookie sheet. I bought a heavy-duty cast iron pot and a stoneware bread pan. And so those were some things, a few spatulas. I mean, we don't have much that we brought with us. So buying those little things here and there. I did buy a hand mixer, and I bought a steamer because there's no ironing board. So I bought a steamer. I also thought it'd be great for blocking. So kind of collecting those few little things here and there as we prepare, but don't want to buy too much just because of the space that we have in this house. And the other house is not officially ours yet. So stay tuned for more information about, and maybe pictures of us moving from overseas to the United States. All right, we're going to move on now. Thank you for joining me for this fiber portion, and we are going to get to our Bible reading. All right, if you caught that I said our Bible reading, and that is because we are at the end of Luke. We are at the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus, and I just think we need that. It's great to hear scripture read and just meditate over what God did for us. That he sent his son, who is Emmanuel, God with us, to live a perfect life, be that final sacrifice for our sins so that we could be made right with God, so that we could be holy and pure and be able to live with God eternally and be with him and his Holy Spirit while we are still living on earth. So I am just going to read from chapter 22, 23, and 24. Not all now, but for the next 3 weeks. So I'm going to start in chapter 22, starting with the first Lord's Supper. When the hour came, he, Jesus, reclined at the table, and the apostles with him. Then he said to them, I have fervently desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it again until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God. Then he took a cup, And after giving thanks, he said, "Take this and share it among yourselves. For I tell you, from now on, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And he took the bread, gave thanks, broke it, and gave it to them, and said, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, he also took the cup after supper and said, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But look, the hand of the one betraying me is at the table with me. For the Son of Man will go away as it has been determined, but woe to that man by whom he is betrayed." So they began to argue among themselves which of them it could be who was going to do it. Then a dispute also arose among them about who should be considered the greatest. But he said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who have authority over them have themselves called benefactors. It is not to be like that among you. On the contrary, whoever is greatest among you should become like the youngest, and whoever leads like the one serving. For who is greatest, the one at the table or the one serving? Isn't it the one at the table? But I am among you as the one who serves. You are those who stood by me in my trials. I bestow on you a kingdom, just as my Father bestowed one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in the kingdom. And you will sit on the thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, look out. Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And you, when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." "Lord," he told them, "I'm ready to go with you, both to prison and to death." "I tell you, Peter," he said, "the rooster will not crow today until you deny 3 times that you know me." He also said to them, "When I sent you out without money bag, traveling bag, or sandals, did you lack anything?" "Not a thing," they said. Then he said to them, "But now, whoever has a money bag should take it, and also a traveling bag. And whoever doesn't have a sword should sell his robe and buy one. For I tell you, what is written must be fulfilled in me." And he was counted among the lawless. Yes, what is written about me is coming to fulfillment. "Lord," they said, "look, here are 2 swords. "That is enough," he told them. He went out and made his way as usual to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. When he reached the place, he told them, "Pray that you might not fall into temptation." Then he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down, and began to pray, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." Then an angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. Being in anguish, he prayed more fervently, and his sweat became like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he got up from prayer and came to the disciples, he found them sleeping, exhausted from their grief. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked. "Get up and pray, so that you won't fall into temptation." While he was still speaking, suddenly a mob came, and one of the 12, named Judas, was leading them. He came near to Jesus to kiss him, but Jesus said to him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" When those around him saw what was going to happen, they asked, "Lord, should we strike with the sword?" Then one of them struck the high priest's servants and cut off his right ear. But Jesus responded, "No more of this." And touching his ear, he healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, temple police, and the elders who had come for him, "Have you come with swords and clubs, as if I were a criminal? Every day while I was with you in the temple, you never laid a hand on me. But this is your hour and the dominion of darkness." They seized him, led him away, and brought him to the high priest's house. Meanwhile, Peter was following at a distance. They lit a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, and Peter sat among them. When a servant saw him sitting in the light and looked closely at him, she said, "This man was with him too." But he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him." After a little while, someone else saw him and said, "You're one of them too." "Man, I am not," Peter said. About an hour later, another kept insisting, "This man was certainly with him, since he's also a Galilean." But Peter said, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Immediately, while he was still speaking, a rooster crowed. Then the Lord turned and looked at Peter. So Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he said to him, "Before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times." And he went out and wept bitterly. The men who were holding Jesus started mocking and beating him. After blindfolding him, they kept asking, "Prophesy! Who was it that hit you?" And they were saying many other blasphemous things about him. When daylight came, the elders of the people, both the chief priests and the scribes, convened and brought him before their Sanhedrin. They said, "If you are the Messiah, tell us." But he said to them, "If I do tell you, you will not believe. And if I ask you, you will not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the power of God." And they all asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" And he said to them, "You say that I am." "Why do we need any more testimony?" they said, "since we've heard it from ourselves from his mouth." Thank you. Would love to know just how this passage touched your heart. Stay tuned for the tutorial on the single crochet cross stitch, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. We will see you in the next video. Bye-bye, y'all. Hey y'all, okay, as you can see, I am not really set up for a tutorial, but because I joined in with Battle of the Stitches, I'm gonna give it my best shot. So let me try. All right, this is the single crochet cross stitch. Yes, single crochet cross stitch that we are going to be making. It is a really beautiful pattern. Front, back look the same. Turn it any way. It is a really pretty design and I really love it. I am using Kobu, which is 51% cotton and 49% bamboo. It is a 3-weight yarn. It calls for a 4mm hook, but I am using Tulip 4.5mm hook for this tutorial. I do want to show you this chart because I'm doing it a little bit different from the pattern that is in the book that Teresa and Heather are using. So the book calls for you to do an even number of chains plus 1. And then you start in the 3rd chain from the hook, and the 2 chains that were skipped count as a single crochet and a chain 1 space. Well, I am not a fan of a chain representing a single crochet. They're not very similar and they're hard when you get to the end of the row to try to find, especially if you have 2 chains, one supposed to be a space and the other a single crochet. So I've reworked it a little bit just so the edges will end with a single crochet. We have like consistent edges, a nice border, and a proper single crochet at the end. So what I have done is I have chained an even number. So in this tutorial, I'm chaining 14. I've chained an even number and I start a single crochet in the 2nd chain, just skipping 1. And that 1 that I'm skipping doesn't count as anything but a turning chain. So I start in the 2nd chain from the hook with a single crochet, then chain and skip a space, single crochet, chain, skip a space, single crochet, chain, skip a space. And so that's how I'm starting, so that I will stack single crochets up on each other and not chain. So when I get to the end, you should start and end with a single crochet. And when you do a turning chain, you should put a single crochet on top of that last single crochet from the row before, and then do the pattern as I will show you. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, and then we'll get started with the tutorial. So we're going to start with a slip knot, and I just take the yarn around my 2 fingers, wrap it once, and then when I wrap the second or halfway around, I go behind the first. And then I slip my hook under the first, grab the second, and pull it through. And there you go. Got my slip knot, sorry. All right. I'm going to chain 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right. So I'm going to go into the second chain from the hook. Now I usually go into the back bumps, but it's a lot slower, so I'm not going to do that now. I just like the finished chain edge, but I'm just going to do it the regular way for now. So skip the first, the 14th chain, go into the 13th, go into the second chain from the hook and make a single crochet and chain 1. Now I'm in that stitch right there, so I need to make sure, because sometimes you pull and you think you're going back into that stitch, and I'm not. I'm skipping that one because I'm in that stitch. I'm skipping that one and going into that stitch and doing a single crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next, do a single crochet, then skip a chain 1. Don't let me forget those chain 1s. Skip a stitch, go into the next. That will make a big difference. Chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next. Oops. Let me try that again. There we go. Chain 1, oops. And then I should have 1 stitch left. Go into there and single crochet. Now, I'm going to chain 1 as my turning chain. I'm going to pull this knot tight because sometimes it leaves a funny little gap down at the bottom. But anyway, chain 1, that's just our turning chain. Turn your work and into the single crochet, which is this right here, I'm going to do a single crochet. Now, from now on, we're going to be working in the chain spaces. So after every single crochet, you need to chain 1, and then we're going to work into the chain spaces. So here, it's pretty obvious on this first row where your chain spaces are. So you go into the chain space, pull up a loop, you go into the next chain space and pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. That is a single crochet decrease. After every single crochet, chain 1. Don't forget that chain 1. If your stitch count ever gets off, go back and look. You may have forgotten the chain 1. At least I have. All right. Now, the reason it's called single crochet cross stitch is because we're going to go back into that the second chain space that we just went in, the previous chain space, and pull up a loop. Then we're going to go into the next chain space, the one we haven't worked, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, single crochet decrease, chain 1, because we're making up for that decrease. We don't really want to decrease. Go back in to the previous chain space, pull up a loop, go into the one not worked yet, the next one, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. Go back into the previous one, pull up a loop, go into the new chain space, the next one, pull up a loop. You might want to pull a little bit on them. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, chain 1. Then, previous chain space. Go in, pull up a loop. Next chain space. Go in, pull up a loop. 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, and chain 1. All right. Now, this is my last chain space because here is my chain 1, chain space, and then this is the top. I don't know if you can see that. That is the top of your single crochet. And I need to finish with the single crochet in that one. So I'm going to go back into that previous chain space, then go into my single crochet at the end, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And by this time, you should still have 13 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yay! All right, so now we're going to do a chain 1 as our turning chain. And turn our work, do a single crochet back into your last single crochet, and chain 1. Don't forget, that is so important. All right, you can see this one little piece of my single crochet. So right up under there is my chain space. So you can go back just in here, in that first hole where you went in and made the single crochet, or you can just go on the other side. I don't know if you can see it, other side of this little bar right here, and go in there. That is your first chain space. Hard to see, but go in there, pull up a loop. This is your next chain space, right on the other side of this single crochet bar. Go in there, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, and chain 1. So it starts getting harder. They get tighter after your beginning chain. It does get a little bit harder to see your chain spaces, but just pull your stitches apart and find it. Look up on top and say, oh, this is the stitch that goes with this single crochet. So this is the stitch that goes with the chain space. So go into the previous chain space, pull up a loop, go into the new chain space, pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, and chain 1. Previous loop. Once you crocheted in it, it's pretty easy to find that previous chain space, not loop. Previous chain space, pull up a loop. Next chain space, and just pull, you'll see it right there. Pull up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1 every time. All right, previous chain space, go in, pull up a loop. Next chain space, go in, pull up a loop. 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. Previous loop, previous chain space, pull up a loop. Next chain space, pull up a loop. 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. So this is our last chain space that we just worked. So we're going to work it again. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, and now we're going to go to our single crochet at the end, go through the top of the single crochet, pull up a loop, and 3 loops, yarn over, and go through all 3. And again, you should now have 13 stitches at the end. Let me move my hook at the end of the row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So when we chain 1, it doesn't count as part of that. It's just a turning chain. And so we'll go through it one more time. All right, chain 1 for our turning chain. Turn your work, single crochet into the top of that last single crochet from the previous row, chain 1. Make sure you chain 1. Now, right on the other side is that chain of this little leg right here is your chain 1 space. Again, you could go in here. It's not going to make a huge difference. Whatever you can see better. But you go into the chain 1 space, pull up a loop, go into the next chain 1 space. If I pull them apart, there it is, right there. So I'm going to go into there, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. If your stitch count, again, comes out wrong or doesn't stay consistent, check to make sure you chain after every single crochet. Back into the previous loop, and that could be also something if you didn't go back to the previous loop. Or I keep calling them loops, to the chain spaces. Next chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. Previous chain space, pull up a loop. Next chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. Previous chain space, pull up a loop. Next chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. Previous chain space, pull up a loop. Next chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 1. All right, that was our last chain space. So go back into the chain space, pull up a loop, go through the single crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, and I would just count until you get used to it and seeing it. Just count and make sure you have 13 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. It's always good to double check. So let me show you the paper again. So you chain 14 or an even number. The odd number gives us those single crochet edges that we have. So this one, I think I did 23. I think it's 22 across, if I'm not mistaken. But chain an even number, single crochet on row 1, single crochet into the second chain from the hook, single crochet, chain, skip 1, single crochet, chain and skip one, single crochet, chain and skip one. All the way across, you should end with a single crochet. Then do a turning chain, single crochet into that top, that last single crochet, and chain. Go into the chain space, pull up a loop, next chain space, pull up a loop, and single crochet, chain one. All the way across. Into the previous chain space, pull up a loop, into the next chain space, pull up a loop, single crochet, chain one, all the way across. So I hope that chart actually helps as well. Well, thank you for watching my first ever tutorial in Battle of the Stitches. See you next week.